Hey guys, Northeast Survival and Preparedness, and as I mentioned in the previous video, I have a High Point 995 here on loan. I'm actually doing a clean job for a friend. He's just one of those guys not very comfortable in taking apart a firearm, so I'm cleaning it for him. And I wanted to do a review, and I'm going to do a second video also talking about this specific firearm when it comes to using it as a survival rifle or a rifle for a prepper. But let's get into this general review. High Point, American company, making guns in America. They're pretty much the cheapest guns on the market. Not to say that they're the worst guns on the market, but they're very simple designs, very heavy. The best way to put it, they're just very simple, heavy, easy to manufacture. There's nothing tricky about them. They're just very simple, inexpensive firearms. And there's, of course, a huge controversy as to whether these High Points are good or bad. And that's, for all you guys to decide on your own, but I'm just going to give you some general information to help you make your decision along the way. Before we get too much into the firearm itself, let's just say that High Point, making these guns out of Florida, they offer a unconditional lifetime warranty, whether you're the first owner or the 10th. No, just send it back and they fix it, no questions asked, which is really good, especially when you are dealing with an inexpensive firearm that could, potentially have problems. I'm sure their quality control is not as good as more expensive firearms, so I'm sure a few bad ones get through, a little more than they want. So let's talk about this. This Pistol Caliber Carbine is available in 3 calibers: 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP. This one here is the 9mm version. It's, like I said, very simple. It's a polymer stock, polymer frame, blowback design rifle, and by blowback it's very similar to how a .22 operates. The powder from the bullet sends the bullet down the chamber. That energy in reverse sends the bolt backwards. There's a recoil spring there that shoots it back forward, reloads a new round. Very simple. I mean, this thing is literally a spring and an extractor, so there's not much that can go wrong with this when it comes to cycling. I mean, really, they're very simple, just as simple as your .22, and that's why .22s tend to not jam very much, for a lot of them being inexpensive, because of that simple blowback design. They come with magazines, and the High Point magazines are pretty crummy. You generally have to kind of mess around with them a little bit to get them to be reliable. You're going to have to take some pliers to them, which is one of the big downsides of High Points, is that their magazines just suck. But the good news is that recently I've seen quite a few aftermarket magazines on the market. So this gun is finally starting to see some good aftermarket parts for it. Back when these originally kind of became popular a couple years ago, there was nothing aftermarket for them, so people kind of, weren't really hot on it. But I think now that they do have aftermarket stocks and magazines and extra parts for them, and even Brass Stacker is making a right side charging handle for it. There's a lot more variety and ability to upgrade these firearms. So I think there's a renewed resurgence of people with these. Your cost, you're looking at about like $250 to $300 for a base model, up to, I've seen them for like $400, $450 when they have some of the accessories added on to them. This one here, as you can see, I took off the rear sight. I didn't take it off, but my friend took off the rear sight, put on a small 4X scope. This is pretty much a range rifle for him. So he wanted something he could shoot the gongs at 100 yards with. Now, I've personally put probably about 400 or 500 rounds through this particular High Point, and I've put, probably a good couple hundred rounds through one of the 45 versions. And I've had 0 hiccups with them so far. They actually have run really good for me, no problems. Like I said, simple design. Once you get those initial hiccups out of the way with the magazines, they actually run pretty flawlessly. My major complaint about the gun is the stock. And not so much the stock. The stock's just ugly as can be. But in the front end where you have the Picatinny rails, the one on the bottom, right here, is actually held on with hex bolts. So you're going to have to take those off and put them back on with Loctite because they're going to wriggle loose. Likewise, the tiny little Picatinny here under the barrel is unsupported, so that wiggles around a little bit as well. So if you want to put like a bipod or something there, it really doesn't work. You know, the only thing that little piece is good for is maybe a right down the end is a flashlight or a laser or something like that, because it's really kind of wiggles a little bit and it's not, well, there's no support on the end. The top Picatinny, as you can see the scope is mounted to, is of course directly attached to the top cover. So when you do take this gun apart and put it back together, the zero isn't affected too horribly. I mean, you're probably going to have to, you know, fine tune it a little bit, but you're going to be pretty close when you put it back on. Very similar to an AK-47 when you have those side mounts. When you take it off and put it back on, you know, you just kind of have to do that little tiny adjustment to get it dead on again, but they're pretty much right there. Disassembly on these things, kind of a pain, but I just, when I was cleaning this, I wanted to just kind of prove to myself that I could do it with without the high point tool. It does come with a little tool that makes taking it apart really easy. But actually, I took this thing apart with a butter knife and a pair of pliers. And so if you do lose that tool, you don't need to buy a new one. You can actually take this thing apart with just regular household stuff. So accuracy on these things. Like I said, we shoot 6-inch 100-yard gongs, and pretty much you're going to hit it like 97 out of 100 times. I really think ammo has a lot to do with it too. Some ammos do seem to shoot better than others out of this gun. You know, it seems like sometimes if you put in like the cheap Russian stuff, it will shoot a little while, but if you tend to put, you know, nice brass case ammo in there, it just seems to one after another after another. So I definitely think this is, you know, 100 yards, you're definitely looking at 6-inch groups or smaller. With the scope, when we go on paper, it's not very uncommon to get 3 or 4-inch groups at 100 yards, and at you know, like 25 and 30 and 40 yards, it's very easy to get, you know, groups of an inch or less. So actually quite a surprisingly accurate rifle for being a small Pistol Caliber Carbine. Now, this gun, of course, does not get cleaned like it should, so it may be a little more accurate than actually what we shoot with it, because, like I said, the owner of this gun is not comfortable taking it apart, and so it goes a long time in between cleanings. You know, with proper cleanings, this actually might be a little more accurate. But these guns are not built for long-range accuracy. They're not precision rifles. These are pistol caliber carbines. These are great plinkers. These are great guns for the range, and you could probably even use one of these for home defense or self-defense, provided you've put this gun through the courses and made sure 100% that your magazines and the gun are reliable. Because like I said, an expensive firearm, there could be some quality control issues there. You want to make sure you get rid of those before you trust yourself to this gun. Now, not everybody out there is going to want to trust themselves to this, and that's completely understandable. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of polymer on here that can fail. The magazines are really cheap. You know, there's a lot of little external things on this that could definitely fail. Have I seen any fail? No. But looking at this critically, I definitely could see that, you know, in an extreme situation, you could have your Picatinny rails break or fall off because they are polymer. If you were to drop that gun on the pistol grip, you know, you could definitely damage your magazine or get something caught. The trigger itself is plastic, and it looks like some of the components inside are plastic as well. So I definitely think there's room for failure in there as well. And guys, I'm not doing this to put the rifle down, but I'm just giving you an objective look at this thing. You know, there are a lot of plastic. There's a lot of plastic in this gun, a lot of polymer, a lot of things that aren't engineered the best. So I can definitely see room for failure in this gun. But it typically doesn't happen because it is a simple blowback design, and they're pretty much, you know, foolproof. They really, you know, there's nothing in the cycling of the firearm that's complex that can cause problems. So I see more of the issues with the actual furniture of the firearm itself. You know, you can set these things up any way you want to, guys. You know, they come with these little cheap nylon strap, or what I can nylon shoulder strap. You know, you can definitely upgrade that. You can upgrade the optics. You can put lasers, flashlights, you name it. As you can see, there's a little muzzle brake pinned down to the end of this one. I believe that's the High Point factory one. I'm not 100%, but I believe he ordered the actual High Point one. Magazines for these are relatively cheap, so if you are stocking up, you can buy them pretty cheap. I'm not sure the prices on the aftermarket, but the High Point ones are not horrible. They're on like 20 bucks. I see them sometimes at gun shows for 10 bucks, and I think those are the ones that need a little player work. So, I mean, overall, you're getting what you're paid for. This is a $300 semi-automatic pistol caliber carbine. It may not be perfect out of the box. You may have to tinker with it. And, you know, like I said, you do have that risk, being this is a, you know, a largely polymer weapon, of failures with that stock and where the stock comes to meet the firearm. But, you know, I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing videos on YouTube of that happening, so I may just be being overcautious with my judgment of this. I particularly... Yeah, I think these are great for range rifles, guys. If you're looking for a cheap range rifle, something to accompany your handgun, you know, it's really good. You can get a nice combo, you know, of a handgun and pistol in 9, 40, and 45. And really, you know, match them up and have a lot of fun at the range. You know, when your hand gets tired shooting the pistol, you can switch over to the carbine and do some plinking at, you know, 50, 75, or 100 yards. And I think they're excellent range guns. If this were in my gun safe, it would not be the first gun I would go to for self-defense, to be honest. But I would have no problems using it if this was all I had. I have no problem using it over many guns, actually. But with the guns I have, it wouldn't be my first choice. Let's just put it that way. I definitely would have other choices I would prefer. And, you know, I do like the size, how short it is. You know, but it is a little heavy. You're talking close to 8 pounds unloaded, and that's a lot for a pistol caliber carbine. My Mosin Nagants weigh about as much as this gun, and they're much bigger. So that's what it is, guys. You know, these guns are highly debated. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm in between. I think they're great range and plinkers, but I think, you know, you do need to, like I said, you need to put them through the. You've really got to put some time into these to make sure they're good before you trust your life to them. And next video, of course, we're going to talk about these for survival, but I just wanted to go over this. You know, here they are, the High Points. Inexpensive, easy, simple, foolproof design when it comes to firing. You know, a new market for accessories is just kind of coming out there. There's a lot going for these, so I mean, if I could still buy these here in New York, I would buy one in a heartbeat, just to have. So there it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed.